Beast Mode wasn't just a catchy nickname, it was a warning label for one of the most violent ball carriers to ever lace up cleats. Is greater than. 20 down to 15. They're chasing him at the 10. He dives. Unbelievable. Is greater than. At the height of his powers, defenses had the blueprint. They knew exactly what was coming. And he still ran right through their souls. Yet, for all that wreckage on the field, the man behind the visor remains the league's biggest enigma. Is greater than. He's been slapped with a $100,000 penalty for refusing to dance to the NFL's media tune. Is greater than. You guys want another round? Really? Okay. Let's run it back then. One more time. Is greater than Marshawn Lynch signed on the dotted line. And that paper says he has to talk to the press. Is greater than. You know exactly why I showed up today. Is greater than. Why do you have to be such a villain to us? Is greater than. In a business built on sound bites, access, and headlines, Lynch weaponized his silence, and that refusal to speak spoke volumes. Is greater than. Are you introverted or something? Nope. I just never saw the value in running your mouth without action. Is greater than, right? Is greater than. It's been my reality since childhood. It's how I was reared. Is greater than where I'm from. Surviving to see adulthood isn't guaranteed. A lot of folks don't make it out. Is greater than Oakland was a war zone where firearms were as common as wristwatches. Is greater than. Over a single 12-hour stretch, 6 shootings have torn apart the streets of Oakland, leaving 3 dead and multiple casualties. Is greater than Lynch was forged in that Oakland fire, the baby of the family, raised by Delisa. A single mother grinding through 2 jobs just to keep starvation at bay for Marshawn and the kids. Our neighborhood was a no-go zone. We literally couldn't step past the gate. Let me be clear, we were locked in. Front gate, back gate, didn't matter. We were not crossing that threshold. Is greater than I watched my mama fight for every inch. I saw her hit rock bottom, and I was right there in the dirt with her. She was my rock. She taught me not just to analyze people, but to sense their true intentions. Is greater than his father. Maurice was a ghost. A revolving door of incarceration kept him from being the dad he claimed he wanted to be. Sometimes he was there, mostly he wasn't. Is greater than mom would say, heading over to your pops' house. We'd get there. He'd say, cool, hold on a sec, and vanish. Is greater than. You wouldn't see the man for 2 days. Eventually, the pain stops, and you just go numb to it. Is greater than. That flakiness left a scar. Those close to him saw a boy who learned early that a man's word meant nothing. Junior year, his dad gets out of jail. We let Marshawn cut practice. He spends the day with his old man. Dad makes a promise for the next day, and then ghosted again. That was it. He washed his hands of it. He said, look, I don't have a father. I'm changing my name. Is greater than Marshawn Lynch. The star tailback from Oakland Tech. Is greater than Marshawn. Hit the gridiron early in a city where respect was the only currency that mattered. You clocked in. You did the work. You didn't make excuses when things went south. Is greater than. Hiding in the back, I see you. Lynch is greater than. Don't act shy now, brother. Is greater than at Oakland Tech. Lynch was a phenomenon. Basketball, track, wrestling, football. He dominated everything he touched. He was a unicorn. Is greater than. Watch out. Here comes Mr. Lynch. Make way for Mr. Lynch. We have a ball game. Is greater than. Who is that kid? In 2003, he smashed over 1,700 yards and scored 23 times in just 8 games. Then he tacked on another 375 yards and 10 scores in the playoffs. Is greater than Oakland Tech feeds Josh Johnson. Over the middle to Marshawn Lynch. He was tearing up Skyline like it was practice. Man, my offensive line, if they weren't absolute beasts, I'd be lost out there. He was a prep star All-American. the East Bay Player of the Year, and the number 2 back in the country, trailing only Adrian Peterson. Is greater than, look at this power. He eats the tackle. Oh my God, touchdown. Is greater than. What are we witnessing? Is greater than. That is a grown man playing against children tonight. Is greater than. He did it all quarterback, receiver, defensive back, linebacker. He studied the game from every perspective. Fresh running back in. Oh, mama, he just stole it. Mr. Lynch just ripped that ball free. Is greater than. When he arrived at Cal Berkeley, he didn't need to change a thing. But as a true freshman, playing time was scarce behind senior star Jay Arrington. Coming in as a rookie, it's tough to get reps. We had a guy who ran for, I think, 1,500 yards the previous season. Honestly, the odds were stacked against me ever seeing the field. But fast forward to 2005, when Jay moved on. And suddenly, it was the Marshawn show. His impact was instant and absolute. Watch the footwork, a quick stutter step to freeze the guard. He breaks the tackle and bounces it out to the left. He crosses the 45, another slash back. He hits the 40, the 35, the 30. Nobody is catching him. Money in the bank. He is at the 10. That is a touchdown. Even with injuries sidelining him for a stretch, he racked up 1,246 yards and 10 scores, finishing it off by dominating the Las Vegas Bowl with 194 yards and a hat trick of touchdowns. Yet, behind the glory, tension was brewing. Marshawn simply didn't fit the cookie-cutter mold of what a varsity superstar was supposed to look like. You had coaches constantly grilling him about his style, his swagger, wondering why he refused to play the role of the clean-cut athlete. I told them, man, why are you stressing about my hair? I'm pulling a 3.2 GPA at Cal. Clearly, whatever I'm doing is working just fine. It had zero impact on his numbers, but that cloud of doubt just wouldn't clear up. It was the first red flag showing people loved the athlete, but they couldn't wrap their heads around the man. What stands out as your absolute best memory from your time playing for the Bears? Simply committing to the school. That's the one, because nobody thought I'd ever make it to a university level. Proving them wrong was the highlight. Putting the noise aside, Lynch walked into his junior year as a legitimate coast-to-coast sensation. He was on every watch list imaginable. Dubbed a preseason All-American, and Cal even kicked off a full-blown marketing blitz to get him the Heisman Trophy. Then, kickoff happened, and the universe finally met. Beast mode. Longshore rolls out, sets up the middle screen pass. Lynch catches it, turns upfield, and takes it to the house. He wrapped up the season leading the Pac-10 with 1,356 yards on the ground and 11 scores, plus another 328 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. Handoff to Lynch. Look at that cutback. He hits the 2015-10. He is in there. That is a 22-yard touchdown for the Bears. He swept the accolades, Pac-10 Offensive Player of the Year, first team honors, and was universally recognized as an All-American. He went out with a bang in his collegiate finale, finding the end zone twice against Texas A&M in the Holiday Bowl. Yet amidst the stardom, Marshawn refused to change. Look across the field. That has to be one of the wildest sights ever. That is Lynch. Definitely not Desmond Bishop. That is just pure comedy. See, his time at Cal proved he could rule the gridiron while staying true to his roots. You couldn't argue with the stats or the trophies, but the whispers about his life outside the stadium refused to die down. Leaving Berkeley for the pros, he brought world-class talent. But he also knew that scoring touchdowns wouldn't necessarily make people accept him. Sadly, that harsh reality tagged along with him all the way to Buffalo. With the 12th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills take Marshawn Lynch. The GM has been preaching character all day, but Lynch is the first prospect on the board who actually comes with some baggage. Snapping him up at number 12 in 2007 was a no-brainer for the Bills. You draft elite skill, you get elite results. I had no clue what was coming. I just heard New York and assumed I'd be hanging out in the city with Jay-Z. Then the plane touched down in Buffalo. And wow, reality hit hard. Breaking news, a massive weather alert affecting millions. Experts are predicting historic snowfall levels for Western New York. A fan actually walked up and warned me to expect 7 feet of the white stuff. I just tilted my head back and looked up a couple of feet above me. I'm standing 5'11", 7 feet. That is literally over my head. Now watch Lynch break loose. He bounces it to the edge, stiff arm, cuts back inside. Touchdown, Buffalo. Good grief. This kid is the real deal. He smashed the 1,000-yard mark in both his rookie and sophomore years, proving he was worth the pick and silencing the critics, at least on the field. Check it out. This is your official rookie trading card. What is your take on it? Lynch sheds the defender. Marshawn Lynch is off to the races. I have been leaning into this whole beast mode persona pretty heavy. All right, so I figured, why not put it on my grill? So I went ahead and did it. Just Marshawn being Marshawn. But soon, back-to-back seasons of controversy would strike. He sat down with the commissioner on Tuesday to discuss a laundry list of off-field incidents. And almost none of the news is good. The drama kicked off when New York authorities dragged 3 Buffalo teammates into the interrogation room, demanding answers about a hit and run involving Marshawn Lynch's ride. Flashback to 2008, where things turned ugly after he clipped a walker with his vehicle, costing him his right to drive entirely. Listen, I keep telling people, you can't be making those boneheaded errors. I get it. Nobody is perfect. But when you are that young, you have got to mature quickly. You understand. Then the 2009 offseason brought more heat. He copped a plea on a misdemeanor gun rap after cops in Culver City found a piece stashed in a book bag inside the trunk. Look, point the finger at whoever you want. But if you need a scapegoat, I am standing right here. My mindset is simple. Heap all your garbage on me. I will just shake it off, climb on top of it, and elevate. Thanks for the time, everyone. Much obliged. In the end, the league slapped him with a 3-game ban to start the year. Unfortunately, that suspension became the headline nightmare, overshadowing everything else at the Bills training camp that Monday. Commissioner Roger Goodell refused to budge, confirming the punishment stands. That meant Lynch was officially sidelined for the opening trio of matchups. Marshawn, give us a reason why should the league, the team, or the supporters buy into the idea that you are done messing up. That moment marked the turning point. Following the handcuffs and the ban, every single syllable he uttered got scrutinized. His response, watch my actions. There is zero verbal convincing I can do to win you all over. You were just going to have to watch me prove it on the field. The vibe in Buffalo was alien to him. It felt like a completely different universe than what Marshawn knew. You had a California guy dropped into a pressure cooker where the press was relentless, and every tiny slip-up got blown out of proportion. Now that the dust has settled, is your role shifting to support Fred and Dominic? I am the loudest hype man this city has seen in ages. Marshawn talked, but it seemed like his actual message got twisted in transmission. He adapted fast, keep your mouth shut, and they can't twist your words. He came back week 4, finished the schedule, and barely spoke a word to the press. However, the atmosphere had shifted. By the end of November, he had lost his spot at the top of the depth chart. Fred Jackson seized the reins, tearing up over 1,000 yards. Meanwhile, for the first time ever, Marshawn failed to crack a single 100-yard rushing game. It was a brutal decline, caused just as much by the situation as by the lack of opportunities. Things did not get any better when 2010 rolled around. The 4th week of organized team activities highlighted Lynch's return to the grass. His first run out under the new skipper, Chan Gailey. He went full throttle in the Tuesday session, feeling solid about being back in the pads with his squad. A preseason ankle injury slowed his momentum, and despite starting 3 times, the writing was on the wall. His time in Buffalo was dead. He told his rep, look, you have got to get me out of here. Guaranteed. So you demanded a trade out of town, absolutely. The clock had run out. It was just too much to deal with. He confirmed, we plan on keeping him. All these rumors about swapping him, that is certainly not coming from our front office. He does not call the shots. He is signed with us, and we will execute whatever move helps the franchise win. We require his talent and expect his attendance. Yet, on October 5th, 2010, they shipped him off. Breaking news, the Bills have dealt running back Marshawn Lynch to the Seattle Seahawks. Lynch played at Cal with Aaron Rodgers, battling fiercely against Pete Carroll's USC dynasty. Ironically, Carroll is now his boss. We pulled the trigger on a trade with Buffalo today to bring Marshawn in. Arriving in Seattle, he immediately felt a sense of home. He linked back up with Justin Forsett, his old college roommate and backfield partner. It seems minor, but it was crucial. For a guy who prioritized loyalty, the Pacific Northwest felt like returning to a world that actually made sense to him. Marshawn started running with pure rage again. The city loved it, embracing both him and his legendary candy habit. Since his prep days, his mother would hand him a bag of Skittles to munch on as a reward for scoring. But my uncle warned me, hey, it is an insult to just call them candy. You have got to call them power pellets. Then came January 8th, 2011, his postseason debut against the reigning champs from New Orleans. His entire career defined itself in a single play. Deep in the fourth, he grabbed the rock, smashed through the line, and etched his name in legend. Oh my goodness. Watch him go. What an incredible charge. Marshawn Lynch refuses to go down. He picks up a block. He is weaving through traffic all the way to the end zone. The roar was so loud the ground actually trembled. The fans stomping in rhythm created a literal earthquake registered on local sensors. They call it the Beast Quake, a run so violent it literally shook the earth. During that playoff demolition of the New Orleans Saints, the hysteria from the Seahawks faithful was so intense it actually triggered local seismographs. Sure, the Chicago Bears shut him down the very next week, holding him to a miserable 2 yards on 4 touches. But the scoreboard didn't matter anymore. The narrative had shifted permanently. Marshawn Lynch was no longer just a player. He was the foundation. He became the flesh and blood avatar of Seattle's aggression. Finally, the man found a city that matched his intensity. And once that click happened, the rest of the NFL was about to learn the hard lesson that Buffalo missed completely. You don't ask Marshawn Lynch for a mission statement. You just get the hell out of his way. Is greater than is greater than. If you just smash someone in the mouth, most people aren't built to take that punishment over and over and over again. Eventually, they just quit. Is greater than is greater than. That is the essence of beast mode. Is greater than is greater than. It sounds simple, but I see it. You might try to find some poetic meaning in it. Run through a mother's face. Is greater than is greater than. By the time he hit his prime in the Pacific Northwest, defensive coordinators still had no answer for him. Between the white lines, he was the heartbeat of a juggernaut, a Super Bowl king. And the undisputed alpha is greater than Russell Wilson, might be the face on the billboards. But Marshawn Lynch is the soul of that locker room. If you want to destroy team chemistry, go ahead and pay Russell $130 million while leaving the beast to starve. Is greater than. But outside the stadium, the cameras painted him as a villain. I really ain't got much to say. Bob, I really don't. Is greater than. That was it. Is greater than. I appreciate it. Thanks. Is greater than. How's the body holding up? Marshawn is greater than. Yeah. Is greater than Marshawn. Walk us through that 79-yard touchdown. Is greater than. Thanks for asking. Is greater than. You can despise the press all you want, but the reality is the media builds the hype that turns athletes into wealthy icons in American culture. Is greater than. Y'all have another 60 seconds to stare at me. Though Marshawn Lynch signed on the dotted line, and that contract says he has to show up for press conferences. Is greater than. That friction reached a boiling point at Super Bowl 49, forced to sit in front of the mics. He turned into a broken record. Marshawn took his seat and delivered a masterclass in malicious compliance. Is greater than. I'm just here so I won't get fined. So you can sit there and fire away with whatever questions you want. I'm giving you the same answer. So shoot your shot. Is greater than. When you sign with the NFL, you accept a duty. A duty to the people buying the tickets. Is greater than I'm here so I won't get fined. Is greater than, it is in the job description. Is greater than I'm just here so I won't get fined. Is greater than. We all have tasks at work that we hate doing, but we do them anyway. Is greater than I'm just here so I won't get fined. Is greater than to the reporters. it felt like a slap in the face. They saw a superstar refusing to play the game on the world's biggest stage. But Marshawn didn't skip out. He didn't run. He followed every letter of the rulebook. He showed up. He spoke. He fulfilled the contract. The only thing he refused to do was perform for them. Is greater than. Something happened to this man in the past. Someone burned him. Someone betrayed him, and the trust is gone. Is greater than. Are you talking about the press or just life in general? Is greater than. The press. Is greater than. By then, he had internalized the harsh lessons from his Buffalo days in the NFL machine. Words get twisted. Context evaporates and tone is weaponized. Silence wasn't just quiet. It was armor. He chose to control the narrative by opting out. I ran hard and I made mistakes. But then I noticed the same reporters cheering for me after a win. Oh, great job. Amazing game, we're the first to turn. The second I got in trouble, those same people were writing, I knew it was bad news. Just a thug from Oakland. And it just so happened that everyone talking trash was holding a pen, a pad, or a microphone. Is greater than. Exactly. È maggiore di sol. I cut them off completely. Is greater than Seattle accepted that trade-off. His teammates respected the code, and the culture was built on that defiance. It worked seamlessly. By the time they stood across from the Patriots in the Super Bowl, their identity was ironclad, which is exactly why the final moments of that game defy all logic. Is greater than, play clock down to 5. The pass is picked off the goal line by Malcolm Butler is greater than, But that play call is insane. Is greater than, I'm with you. Is greater than. I cannot comprehend that decision. You have Marshawn Lynch standing in the backfield. You have a human wrecking ball who is unstoppable in the red zone. I just can't believe they threw it. One single play call didn't just lose a game, it shattered a dynasty. The entire sports world screamed the same agonizing question. Why didn't you hand the ball to Marshawn? It was arguably the most catastrophic decision in the history of the sport. The real question wasn't about the loss, but the scar it left behind. That wound never really healed. You have the most dominant power runner in the league, and you gamble everything on a slant route. The championship was right there in their hands. It defies logic to ignore the best back on the planet when you are literally on the doorstep of victory. We are talking about half a yard, inches. That moment broke something fundamental within the franchise. Sure, Seattle kept stacking wins on paper, but that invincible aura, that swagger, it evaporated the moment that pass was intercepted. The entire Pete Carroll era was built on unwavering belief, but once that foundation cracked at the goal line,